echoing back to me what I was saying. That's all I could hear. I couldn't hear anything else. So hopefully you heard what I said, that I am with all of you for the next hour and a half. Let me check. My volume is good. I'm gonna see here. Let's see. Let me check. My volume is good. Okay, I'm not getting, the first time that I started the live, it kept echoing the first sentences that I said. So hopefully you figured out what I was saying, because it wasn't, I don't know what you heard on your end, but even with my other phone doing here a test run, I don't know what you heard on your end. It was, it sounds like the technology now is good to go. So good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Psychic and Paranormal Wednesdays, where I talk about a range of topics that include astrology, spirituality, psychic-related phenomena, content, psychic mediumship, paranormal psychic mediumship, right? How that's different, how it has variations from traditional mainstream mediumship, which is relatives, loved ones, pets. Paranormal psychic mediumship is communication with ghosts, if they choose to speak to you, all of that in that genre as well. And also, too, I talk about paranormal locations, where I've been, where I'm going. Saturday night, I was with a paranormal team at the Covenhoven House in Freehold. I will be back at the Covenhoven. I will close out the month with a second paranormal team. So it'll be interesting to see how the findings vary from one team to the other, how the findings are similar from both teams, also to the experiences that I had on Saturday, whether there's any replication of who I saw on Saturday night. And I do have a video forthcoming about the Covenhoven house that I filmed last weekend. So what you get to see too is when a paranormal psychic medium is part, I wouldn't say is the, hi Leo, good evening, good evenings. Hi Josh, hi Rich. So you get to see, hi Kicks, Flips, good evening, you're welcome. So you get to see the difference of when you got here. Congratulations. It's been a crazy day with the power outages here for us on the East Coast of the United States. And yeah, I was talking about that. I had to reboot the live because it just kept echoing back my first sentences. So I wasn't sure if anyone heard that, because it seemed that there were people on. You're up north. Where up north? Hi, Jaden. So yeah, it's been, I still can't make phone calls. My phone says SOS. My Wi-Fi, my phone is not working. Luckily, I'm somewhere that I'm hooked up to another Wi-Fi. So it's been a bit, hi, Amorqua. It's been a bit of a stressful day of a computer. Yeah, you know, I don't have, my camera doesn't work on my laptop, so I can't use my laptop. I will have to get a new You're 24. Okay, so you're just, I say 24 is just getting started. So I was on a paranormal investigation this weekend with the Covenhoven house. You're 10 years old? Because I have that this live is not for kids, as long as your parents are okay with it. I have had children on my ghost walks with parents. Minnesota. Hello, Minnesota. I have not been to Minnesota, but I'm sure there's a lot of haunted locations in Minnesota. It's, I'll think about what I'm talking about. It's just, I think you should get your parents' permission to watch this live. That's just, I have had kids on my ghost walk, and the mother had said, oh, they're, these spooky stories, they watch all the time. I just think, if you decide to stay on, check with mom and or dad about it, because I am talking about, hi, Fianan. Okay, because now I'm starting to get a replica of 10. So if I get a bunch of people repeating the same, I will make sure you're not in the live anymore, because that's a time waster. And I'm not in the space for it today. Definitely not today with all the technology that's going on. Okay, I hope, okay, I hope so. So, that's the thing with you only seeing me and me not seeing you. So I was on a paranormal investigation Saturday, and what you get to see the difference when the paranormal team, they come in with equipment, anything from bells to tripwires to, different types of, I don't know if you want to call it machinery, to gauge the data. For them, the data is hearing the knock. Thank you. Appreciate that. For them, it's hearing the knock. It's something moving. It has to be tangible. The paranormal team I worked with Saturday definitely has to be tangible for them. I had worked with CJ. This was the second time working with CJ. We had worked on an investigation in a hotel in Long Beach Island, New Jersey. For me, I did have experiences when we were in the Covenhoven. I think for them, they didn't have a lot. At one point, they had this thermostat, and the temperature did go to 666. I pointed that out. CJ wasn't really moved by it. But I thought that was kind of interesting that with the thermostat, they were trying to gauge for cold spots, right? So as far as in a paranormal investigation, does everyone know what a cold spot is? As long as you have your parents' permission, just because it's, it's also, I wasn't listening to this type of stuff when I was 10. I know the times have changed and everything, but, I was a classroom teacher for decades. So I don't know, call that the classroom teacher in me, but I know that, the kids have access to a lot these days. So does everyone know what a cold spot is? A cold spot is when you walk in a room and a room is a certain temperature, but in one area or the whole room drops 20, 30, 40 degrees. That is usually a ghost or an entity letting you know that they are in the room with you. I've experienced the cold spot a couple times, and actually this past year was the first time I ever experienced several cold spots, and that for me lets me know that someone's in the room. The first time was this time last year. I was out in Las Vegas with a paranormal team conducting an investigation at Circus, which is an old hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, Las Vegas, Nevada. We were investigating the 666 room. That was not my idea. That was Nick and Chris's idea. They were the paranormal investigators that we were working with at the time. So we were investigating the hotel room, and I was sitting down, and circling around my lap was a cold spot. So are you interested in the paranormal, right? Have you ever experienced a cold spot before? Also, the most recent one, and this was surprising for me. So if you don't know me, I'm a Lenny. I'm a practicing psychic, medium, astrologer, paranormal psychic medium for 30 years now. I do take one-on-one appointments with readings. In addition to the lives, I perform live shows, too. One of my big focus areas is also educating, so you know what it is and what it isn't. I was in the middle of a reading at a house. It was a house party. And then midway through the reading, I felt a cold spot around my lap, which usually when I'm doing readings, we're not talking about the paranormal during a reading. When I'm performing a live show, that's not the focus, the paranormal. Those are different audiences usually. But that was a tip-off. The reason why during the middle of this reading that I felt a cold spot, and I was reading the person that lives in the house, was that it was letting me know, and actually too, she texted me earlier today how at work, the door swung open and closed on its own. I had to break the news to her that this male ghost followed her home. And I asked her, I said, how many days has it been since you were in at work? She said, it's been a couple days. And I was like, look, I don't want you to freak out. I said, but this male ghost has followed you home. And that's what's saying when you're 10, I don't want you to be scared. Because I was certainly not thinking about these things at 10 years old. That's for sure. I was trying to figure out being a kid and what that was all about. So, luckily he's not a negative ghost, but that's why I never in the 30 years I've done a reading been interrupted mid-reading with a cold spot. They're usually very separate, it's not part of the reading, anything paranormal, but it does come up. It is a possibility that's why too, when you go somewhere paranormal, it is possible they can follow you home, but there's tools of protection that you can provide yourself, which is when you go to a paranormal location, you say out loud, I have some conditions, and this is how I talk too. I say, especially if I'm going somewhere, I may have talked about this. Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures has a haunted museum in Las Vegas. At least 4 negative entities in there. So when I spoke my conditions and boundaries, I said one of those conditions is do not follow me home. So it's very rare. You have to speak. You have to set your boundaries, especially with the paranormal. That's how you maintain your power. I've said this before too, and in the pilot for Haunted Places, I provide definitions of ghosts, demons, negative entities. And when you're on their turf, you do need to tread very carefully because you're on their turf. And they have created an energy space that is part of them having strength on their turf. If you have an instance, you get followed home, candles, just like the whole premise in church, the light, tools of protection, all of that. But you can also, there are ways to get them to go elsewhere. Congrats, is still streaming. Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody had the cell phone outage today. how that's going. Are you affected? Because on the East Coast, a lot of us are getting slammed since 12 o'clock. I think Verizon got hacked. Now, are they going to admit it? Probably not. It's too long of an outage. We're going on about 8 hours. I mean, right now it's showing I could make a phone call, but so all day it's been mostly going. So 60 years, keep going with the streaming, because it, the streaming has, being 60 has opened a whole other world for us, everything. I have people in my other lives that are disabled. It gives them a lifeline to feel connected and have community. So if you're interested in the paranormal, there's a lot of haunted locations. Of course, not every location is haunted. I have a video forthcoming about one location. I take requests on one of my other lives. They've given me, between the comments and the lives, about 40 places to go. That's why you see some of my videos. Those are requests of locations to go to. But yeah, I was just sorry. I got a little lost in my stream here of thoughts with the paranormal. But if you want to go to a location, there's lots of locations. This is what I was going to say. I have a video forthcoming about someone said, "Oh, you got to go to this location. 3 girls drowned in the lake and they allegedly haunt the lake." Yeah, so what I found out was those 3 girls did not drown in the lake. So there is a video forthcoming that, to say not every place has paranormal activity or is accurate. So I am going to do a video. There's another place too that I'm going to tie in with this that I've been sitting on for a couple years, where the manager, who's a psychic medium, just debunked everything that's online about the hotel being allegedly haunted. I think that's important for us too, because there is criticism that those of us that are, adore the paranormal, that we say everything is haunted. Yes, we do focus on locations that are haunted, but we do want to be cautious. That's why in my videos, you see, I never say they're facts. And if it's my experience, it's my experience. Like the Copenhagen video I will forthcoming post, those are my experiences. The paranormal team they are not connected with that experience. They go over their data. So the thing too with the paranormal psychic mediumship, it's intangible, right? I can't sync a photocopy machine to my head and then there's a print up of, what I saw. CJ was joking, "Oh, probably eventually you will." So, let me go into, I always have notes, and I always make notes before the live. I don't just turn on the live and free fall, even though I could free fall. If you don't know, I was a university professor for over 20 years, not teaching the psychic, not the paranormal, but I did write my dissertation for the PhD about the psychic world. So let's see. Let me go where I filmed. I think I talked about Georgian Court last week. If any of you, that sounds familiar. But too, if you look at my videos, one of the videos with Georgian Court is about that oak tree, that haunted oak tree. I found that story, and this is what's saying, I really don't get the pushback here, but it's hilarious how the detractors think I just pull these stories out of the thin air. That haunted oak tree story, that is not my experience. That I found through Weird, New Jersey. I would say watch the haunted oak story, the haunted oak tree, because also too, I had someone else in my other live. She asked if I could give a quick talk on orbs, which I can do tonight here, because that video includes examples of orbs. So by filming the videos, I bring these stories to life for all of you, right? Because you'd rather listen to a video. And as I'm a trained storyteller, I taught mythology at the universities for many years. I designed a mythology course. I'm very well versed in myths. And for some people, these ghost stories are myths. For other people, they're experiences. That haunted oak tree at Georgian Court, I don't have it here, but in one of my other social medias, one of the students sent me a picture she took at night near the oak tree, and you can see faces. I mean, I could see too. She said, "Do you see the woman's face?" Yeah, I said, "I see it. I'm not even going to ship it out to a paranormal investigator for verification. I see it. I'm good with it. I believe you." Yes, do people tell tall tales and they make things up? Sure. But I would say if you're interested in the paranormal, watch the haunted oak tree video, because what I also add, I add explanations to the story of this former journalist who was running a kids camp for the Rotary Association. And I explain, right, because I'm not knocking it. He just said there's a tree, this tree, and these things happen. So when I started studying the map of Georgian Court, I saw it had oak tree, and I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I've written about oak trees. And in the ancient world, they were, there's one site where they had the psychic priestesses would touch the oak tree and receive psychic messages. So I talk about in the video from the ancient religion how this one oak tree was a psychic conduit for the oracular priestesses. And according to the story, which you can find through Weird New Jersey, again, allegedly when people would touch the tree, strange things would happen. They would hear screams in the woods, a woman, a child. And then they talk about how they see these circles. Well, those circles of what they're seeing, hi Max, is orbs. So if you watch the video, right, I talk about in the video, red orbs, yellow orbs, green orbs, blue orbs, white orbs. So too, because, so that you understand this, right? Me as being trained in this and 30 years of doing this, I'm providing context about the oak tree, how it does have psychic significance. And is every oak tree a psychic conduit? No. There are oak trees at Turkey Swamp Park in Freehold, New Jersey. I do plan to look at those. I am curious. Lakewood, New Jersey has various oak trees. However, what the story claims fits in the ancient world when people sought out these temples to ask questions. The tree was a temple of sorts. So that was really interesting. And that also, too, takes me into, so does everyone know what orbs are? I had written a little bit too. Do you know what orbs are? Have you ever seen an orb? Have you ever gotten a picture of an orb before? I have. The most recent was that this past August, I was in upstate New York where I teach workshops, and I'll be teaching July 20th to the 22nd, Lilydale, New York, astral projection, how to see auras, psychic astrology, all of that, the 20th through the 22nd of July this year. So have you ever seen an orb before? And as I said, the most recent was August that, so that I got orbs, ORBS. So I'll give you a bit of, too. When I was talking with CJ, he's a paranormal investigator. I was with his team Saturday night at the Covenhoven. He had said how, okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so there's just somebody talking irrelevant in the comments. So before digital photography, this was saying with CJ, he said no orbs appeared in pictures. Now that's him, that's not me. That orbs are electromagnetic energy fields that can contain angelic energy, which appear to humans in the form of light, and they are circular. Think circular. That picture, the most recent August, I counted this because I was asked by another person on another of my social media channels. She said, in the next live, could you give, even if it's a brief talk on orbs? And that's what's saying. I do take requests too for content. So they're circular. I counted 13 orbs in that picture I took August, and I was just because my GPS wasn't accurate getting back to where I was staying, I took a picture of the one street. So then when I got close to where I was staying, oh, okay, yeah, I got a hookah right here. Well, when I looked back at the picture has 13 white orbs on it, which I took as a very good sign. And 13 is also a goddess number, the divine feminine. So orbs are circular. They can contain angelic energies, which appear to humans in the forms of light. They can be angels. They can be loved ones in the spirit world. They can be spirit guides. They can be fairies. That's another conversation, another time, another live. But I can give a talk on fairies as well, because with Lilydale in upstate New York, there is a fairy trail. Also, too, it can be a vehicle, according to theory, where angels transport themselves. My one friend, I don't think she's going to be on here tonight, but because we're having all these problems with the outage, as I said, with Verizon, even though it looks like things are okay right now, but I will check that after the live. Anyway, Judy worked at an insane asylum in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, and she said there's pictures online that include orbs. In a photo, again, if you capture like how I recently in August captured in the photo, I took that as guides and loved ones. So in a photo, it can be spirit, it can be an angel, it could be divine energy. That orbs are a good thing. They're not negative, they're not bad. In that haunted oak tree story that I told you about, watch that Georgian court video, because I also provide more context than the person that had these experiences could, because his area of expertise is not the psychic, it's not the paranormal. So that was to what's really important about that video I filmed. Again, so an orb, it's circular, it's a good thing. It can symbolize protection or messages. So I'll go through, right? So in the video, they talk about seeing all these different colored orbs. I would say, and I've never seen one, and I've never had anybody say to me that they've seen. The only one I would be maybe concerned is a black orb. I have yet to someone show me a picture, a video of a black orb. Orbs are a good thing. So white, purity, the white light of the Holy Spirit, the Christ consciousness, you know, letting you know that invisible energies are there with you and making themselves visible with these circular orbs. So white is good. If you see a blue orb, blue is also a color of tranquility and peace. It can also represent guardian angels. A green orb is healing. Think of the heart chakra. So you have brow, you have crown, you have throat, and then you have heart. So heart chakra is associated with the color green. So a green orb also too as a signifier of healing. Orbs appear in spiritual settings or around people with strong psychic sensitivities. Yellow, let's say you see a yellow orb. Yellow, that's saying, I interpret yellow as a communication color. It's good. Same with orange. It's an active color. It's a vibrant color. So in that video that I posted, the man says at one point they saw red orbs. So red can go one of two ways. In the positive, red is a signifier of passion. In the negative, red is a signifier of anger. And I haven't seen red in somebody's auric field often. It's very rare. So let's see, blue, green, yellow, white, red. I think that too, that covers the colors of the orbs. And again, the orbs can signify spiritual guidance, right? That's saying, you know, you want breakthroughs with your guides, your loved ones. You have to communicate with them that say, you know, I know this is a medium that people come to us, but it's also the connection that you build with your loved ones. And the more that you talk to them, it can be telepathically or out loud, the more that they're able to give you signs and messages that they're around. You also have to be open to it. And an open-minded skeptic, that's good. You should be an open-minded skeptic. You shouldn't believe everything you hear. You should question, but if you're closed-minded, you're not going to have an experience. There's no point in having a conversation with a closed-minded skeptic, because a closed-minded skeptic has made up their mind. And it's just, silver orbs are good too, as well. So yes, the orbs can be a way, a sign, a message that your loved ones are around, and letting you know through orbs that they are with you, that it can be a divine presence. That the blue and silver orb can represent guardian angels or spirit guides. Green can also symbolize fairies. Sorry, I said fairies. Yellow, gold, divine energy, love. You know, the most recent, as I said, for me was white orbs. Now, what's interesting again, and it was a synchronicity, because I got asked to give even this brief discussion I just gave with all of you right now about orbs. It was a synchronicity that I got asked to give a brief talk on orbs. And then that haunted oak tree video, watch it in my videos, is an example of orbs. So it gives you context to understand what these phenomena are too, that the definition, how it works, why you see it. So I think the haunted oak tree folklore is very fascinating there at Georgian Court University in Lakewood, New Jersey. So again, saying check out the video. And I have also that other Georgian Court University video, which goes into the backstory of those grounds, which is definitely not dull, for sure. Also, last week I filmed in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. I filmed in Point Pleasant Beach. Those videos are forthcoming. They are what I call in the vault. I'd like to this week film in Galloway, which I get a lot of interest on my other social media for stories from Galloway, New Jersey, as well. Also, too, I want to get a university in before the semester starts. I'm trying any university videos because after Martin Luther King Day here in the United States, the universities are back in full schedule. Also, too, locally, Tom's River, a park. Parks can have paranormal activities. Have you ever been to a park and a swings on its own and there's no breeze? People have these type of experiences. That's one example. Also, too, I'd like to Cape May, New Jersey, southern New Jersey. Get those videos in. We'll see how filming goes. So I'll talk about the astrological weather. What is going on now through the next live. This Saturday, and I was just before the live filming these videos to post this Saturday, Venus, which is the romance planet, moves into Aquarius. And I said this in the video I filmed. It's going to start breaking up the energy. I think, I like every sign. I think I've said this before. There's not one astrology sign in the Western zodiac that I dislike. I think, though, with all these planets we've had in Capricorn these last weeks, it can be a bit heavy. It can be intense. It can be very serious. It can be very stoic. You can get a lot done without moaning or complaining, because Capricorn just gets it done and isn't a moaner. Doesn't moan about what it has to do. It just does it. But starting Saturday, we're going to start getting those primary planets are going to start breaking up. And you have Venus in Aquarius starting Saturday, which is a different vibe than Venus in Capricorn. Venus is the romance planet in your astrology chart, depending what sign it is. So the romance planet moves into Aquarius Saturday. Venus in Aquarius is a community sign, and I see this with people that have their Venus in Aquarius. They very much need the social outlet. They need to be social. Community is really important to them. Sometimes they find more fulfillment in their community endeavors, their community activities, than with their romantic partner. Not always, but I've seen it with Venus Aquarius folks. So what starts to emerge is this theme. Aquarius is the sign of friendship. It is the sign of the humanitarian. Aquarians need friends. If you know an Aquarius that doesn't have friends, then in astrology, that's what we call an afflicted Aquarius. You could see Capricorn more as a loner sign, even Scorpio, but Aquarians are, they can't get enough of people in social settings. Again, it's very community oriented, and compared to Capricorn, it's a lighter energy too. So the energy starts lightening with Venus moving in Aquarius. I'll say this: Sunday is the new moon in Capricorn. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And new moons are a time to write out your goals. Sunday is a good day to write out your goals. If you haven't thought about how you want 2026 to unfold, work, career, love life, family, friendships, finance, travel, right? You get the idea. Sunday is a good day to work with writing that down. What are your goals for this year? What are you co-creating with Spirit Universe? We are co-creating while we are here. That new moon, that packs the last of that really intense Capricorn zinger, because that new moon is at a very late degree of Capricorn. And when a planet is at a late degree, it often adds an extra intensity to it. So we're still going to be feeling this Capricorn intensity through Sunday. But by Sunday night, it starts to shift. So this new moon is a good time, even if you sit and think about how do you want 2026 to go? What's your focus? What are your objectives? What works for you? What doesn't? Because Capricorn wants to shave off the excess. It wants the chiseled sculpture. It doesn't want the excess on the sculpture and not having a final product. So Sunday is a good day to work with that with the new moon. Then we move into Tuesday, because saying the next live will be, today is the 14th. The next live will be January 21st. So probably the sun is also going to move into Aquarius. Tuesday, Mercury, which is the thinking planet, moves into Aquarius. So you start to see Venus, Mercury by Tuesday has moved into Aquarius. And by next week, that sun has moved into Aquarius. Now, I'll loop this with another point. Those of you that follow astrology, because I know in my other live I got asked about this. Now, what gets a little dicey with the Aquarius is Pluto, which is Scorpio's planet. It's Hades in mythology, the god of the underworld. So Pluto is Scorpio's planet. Well, Pluto is now in Aquarius for about 30 years. So it's going to add some secrets rising to the surface, I would say now through next month. It adds a diciness to all the planets in Aquarius because they're all going to cross over Pluto. So you may find out secrets, your love life, someone else's love life. You find out secrets that have been hidden. Other people are hiding. They come to the surface, communities and such. So it's an interesting time to see how Pluto in Aquarius is going to affect, starting Saturday, all those planets moving into Aquarius. Also another planet I'm going to be talking about these next weeks is Neptune is finally leaving Pisces. It's been there since 2011. It's been in its home base ruler the last 14 years. Great transit for psychic work, spiritual work, artistic work. Neptune can get lost in the clouds, kind of in the same way like Libra. It is a dreamer sign. It is a dual sign, the good fish, the bad fish. It is in, okay. Let's see here. So Neptune is in Pisces, and it is in its last degree. So it's also too, in its last degree, I was talking about this with the new moon Sunday, is that when it's at its last degree, it has an extra intensity to it. If I was to say, I'm sure all the astrologers today were, oh, this cell phone outage that we had should have been during a Mercury retrograde. I would say I would also give it to Neptune in its final days in Pisces. So, especially Pisces people, you could be feeling a little foggy, hazy, out of sorts. But Neptune in Pisces is a great sign. It's a great transit for artistry, any type of creative. And we're in the last days of that. It finally moves into Aries for a long time on the 26th. And that's it's kind of like Capricorn, Aquarius, day and night, Pisces, Aries, very different energies, very different, Aries goes for the prize, maybe sometimes too soon, that, it has to learn patience and strategy and not instant gratification. So that's going to be a big energy shift, but we are in the last days of that. So if you are Pisces, you could be, really feeling that, and that could cause a little bit of the fog, the haze. But again, it's an excellent time to tap into your creativity because Pisces, Neptune in Pisces is a very creative, psychic transit too for your creativity. Okay, so let's see. Also, I'm going to go back to that haunt. I did talk about that with the, so I won't go. Let me just see if I have a pen here to make some checks. Here I have that. So I talked about the new moon. I talked about Venus in Aquarius. Also, the Point Pleasant Beach video, that was a request, and that video is that person's ghost stories that requested that. So saying, I am in New Jersey. If you're not in New Jersey, but I am, last week we were talking and there was a woman on the live and she was talking about Asheville, North Carolina. So I wrote down some places there about Asheville too. So I do take suggestions, even if, what state you're in or what your interest is in, with that. So I have that also from Point Pleasant Beach. That's forthcoming. I am planning more investigations. The next paranormal investigation, as I said, is at the end of the month. And then I have a couple more that I'm working on. One is a hotel, and I believe I have that video on my page, but there's I plan to do more with that because there's more stories, and in my other social media, people had stories too about staying in this hotel. Again, another historic house as well. Also, next month is the Chinese New Year. So it goes into Year of the Horse, which is Gemini. So from the Chinese astrology perspective, it's horses are very active. They like to do a lot of things. They like to be on the go. They like variety. They like fun. They like spontaneity. So also too, you can tap into that energy and make this year an exciting year. Again, it's 2026. In numerology, we are in a year one. This is a cleaning of the slate, leaving the past behind, creating the new you, the new chapter, the new beginnings, the new friends, the new business ventures, the new, having a better relationship with money, whatever it is, travel too, that you get to clean the slate and start a new era, that the 2026 is a one energy. Also too, so we've had Saturn in Pisces, and I talked about this previously. Saturn is going to move into Aries next month. That is the father in astrology. It's Capricorn's ruling planet. It's been in Pisces the last couple years. So if you are a Pisces, you could feel every part of your life had been broken down to build you back up to a better, improved life version of you. Well, Pisces, whether that's moon, rising, that ship goes out to sea and doesn't come back for another 28 years. You're going to be off the hook starting next month, because then you have the Neptune and you have the Saturn tangoing in Aries. So Aries, yes, Aries folk will get put through the paces. That's sun, that's moon, that's rising. That starts into spring for Aries people. If you have strong Aries placements in the chart, that applies to you. So what about tonight, right? So tonight, the moon is in Sagittarius, and it's staying in Sag. Let me just see if I can, for a second, pull this, or I don't have this one. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Let me see what degree. 12, 24. So Thursday night into Friday. The next couple days are a good time. Sag moon is an expressive placement of the moon. It's a communicative placement of the moon. The moon in astrology is health and emotions. Sag excels at saying what they need to say. It wants truth. It wants expression. It wants communication. It's a travel-oriented placement of the moon. It's a spontaneous placement of the moon. As I was talking, as horse, when it moves into horse next month with the Chinese astrology. These are both spontaneous energies. Gemini and Sag are spontaneous energies. So it's a good time to speak up and communicate. And with all the Capricorn, you can ground, because sometimes Sag, it flies out of the mouth and you didn't think it out. It's kind of in the way like Aries, right? So you have to discipline yourself that it doesn't fly out of the mouth. Too. So the next couple days is a good time for expression, for communication, and all that Capricorn allows that Sag moon to be measured, because Capricorn is a very measured sign when it's in its positive, right? If it's not afflicted. So all that Capricorn helps the emotions also become measured. The communication is measured too, but it can have that expressiveness. Sag moon likes to have fun. It's a fun placement for the moon. So tap in to that energy the next couple days. If you have deadlines, you can get things done. Especially, I would say, now through Friday. I would say even now through Sunday too, because Capricorn just gets it done as well. Let me see here as I look through the list here. Okay, I talked about that. I talked about that. Yeah, I talked about we're filming. Talked about the upcoming investigations. This and that. I'm just looking here. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about spirit guides tonight. We all have spirit guides. Spirit guides are intermediaries between ourselves, however you want to call it, God, divine. They're different than relatives. You have a primary guide that has been with you since you took your first breath here on the earth. And people ask me how they can strengthen, fine-tune their relationship with their guides too. So, I always say, before you get out of bed in the morning, right? Because before you get out of bed and you open your eyes, or your eyes are closed but you're awake, right? You're in that theta state. And in the theta state, you can receive messages, you're clear. And if you're worried about who's talking about you, you can say, only those aligned with the white light, the Holy Spirit, the Christ consciousness, whatever it is that works for you, may communicate with you. You have that much autonomy over who speaks to you. So a good exercise is to start with yes or no questions. Do you hear a male voice? Do you hear a female voice? And it's like a muscle, like a workout routine. You build it over time. You have to commit to it. You have to be disciplined. You can't expect instant gratification. Too, when you meditate, you can maybe have a vision of your spirit guide. You may see a spirit guide in your dreams, right? Sometimes when you see people you don't recognize in your dreams, those could be people in the spirit world connected to you. They could be guides. They could be ascended masters that are letting you know they're around, because dreams are the most non-invasive way for guides, ascended masters, loved ones to communicate with you. So if you are interested in flexing those, skills or working on that, that's what I tell people during readings when they ask me how to start connecting with your spirit guides. And again, you want to give it time. You want to be patient with it. Two, Rome was not built in a day. It's a constant process, and you don't always get answers, right? It doesn't work that way, too. That's saying, because we are here to learn and go through things and experience things. And if we knew everything beforehand, there would be nothing to learn, right? But that's up to us. When we make mistakes, do we transform them into lessons, or do we continue to make the mistakes? That's up to us, right? And I do believe in free will, and that's a really complicated discussion. And yes, I am a trained philosopher. So too, my PhD is in philosophy. I've taught philosophy courses, and you know, the camps are split. You have one half of the camp that says, no, there's no free will. And then there's the other half of the camp that says, yes, you have free will. In certain circumstances, we have free will. I have a choice every day how I choose to speak to people. I have a choice every day, and I'm saying all of us, when I leave the house, what I decide to do, how I interact with people. Am I disciplined? Am I calm? Am I peaceful? Am I harmonious? Am I positive? That is free will. And to stay balanced and positive, that's why meditation is a necessity. It is the part of the spiritual life. Meditation, prayer, whatever works for you, you know, meditation and prayer, that's saying, because it balances and calms the mind. And when the mind is balanced and calm, the guides, the ascended masters, the loved ones, it's easier to connect with you, right? Saying this too, and I know with the psychic mediumship, people ask me, they say, oh, you know, I've been thinking about my dad a lot lately. You know, a lot of the times that's because they're spending time with you. It's not wishful thinking. It's just, you know, we're here. We're not supposed to pick up on everything that's around us in the spirit world. We're here for a reason, for our own purposes, and also to the greater, larger, you know, whatever you want to call that, you know, God, Devi, Allah, you know, the white light, right? Nikola Tesla described the God energy as that electrical white energy when he's holding the two bulbs in his hands. And that is the God energy that is in the middle above his head. So, you know, spirituality is a commitment to self-improvement. Spirituality is a commitment to reflection. Spirituality is a commitment to how you interact with people, how you treat people. To, are you conscious of your thoughts and actions? To a lot of people that aren't interested or aren't immersed in a spiritual life, and I say spirituality in a really broad context. You see it a lot. You have people out there that are living their lives unconsciously. So they're not aware of what they're really feeling. They're not aware of what they're really thinking. They're not aware of how their interactions affect people. When you live a conscious life, you live life differently. You are more aware. You think about your thoughts and your actions. Was that good? Was that not good? I got to work on that. That was good. I should do more of that. You know, that also does come down to psychology. You know, living spirituality is about living a conscious life, because people that live unconscious lives are usually very disconnected from who they are, what makes them happy, how they're interacting with people. They live very unaware. Their inner world, they're very unaware of how they are moving about in their day-to-day life, their relationships with people, everything. too. So spirituality is also a commitment to living a conscious life and having the courage to have the unconscious become conscious. So, too, I'm just trying to think where with next week. Next week, I'll talk again about where I filmed. Again, you know, like, subscribe my channel. Too, I do post videos every week. A lot of them are paranormal. I have some astrology videos that I just talked about too. Those are probably going to be the next couple days that I'll be posting. I do take suggestions from you, what type of content that you want me to talk about in the lives. The more interactive you are and it's relevant to the live, the better it is for all of us. It's the same thing when I taught university, right? And I had lecture, and lecture was 75 minutes. When the classroom wasn't participatory or engaged, it created waves of silence during the lecture, because the more engaged and, again, relevant to the live and the themes and the focus of the live, the better it is for you, the better it is for all of us to say. So when tonight is the 14th, next week, I'll be talking about all that Aquarius energy, all that Capricorn energy I've been talking about all month. Suddenly, most of it moves Aquarius. And what does that mean? And how with Pluto in the mix? Because that's a first now with all those planets in Aquarius this time next week. And how Pluto, I'll dig deeper into that, what that means. Also, where I've filmed, where I'm filming as well. Too, as I said, I'll be talking about the astrology. You know, you can also, in the comments of my videos, you can write suggestions for the live. Again, relevant to the themes of the live. The themes are spirituality, astrology, psychic mediumship, paranormal psychic mediumship, psychic content, phenomena, messages, so on, so forth. Too, because I do take suggestions, because I also want to know what you're interested in to say. And it is about building community. So it's been quite the day. And I am going to end this live early tonight, but I wish you all a fantastic week. Enjoy the new moon, too. You know, be gentle on yourself, be patient. I've noticed things are taking a little longer to get done these past days, you know, going with the flow of that, because Capricorn wants to get it right. So it'd rather go over it again and again and then have the final copy be satisfactory. That is very much, because that also is a test of endurance, too. It's a test of tenaciousness. It's a test about going the distance and having longevity. So I will be back with all of you a week from tonight. Have a lovely weekend. Do something fun. The Sag Moon wants you to do that. And I will speak with all of you soon. Good night. And remember that spirit lives on in you. Good night. See you soon.